welcome to Political Paradigm. I'm Terry Ikumi. My guest today is the Vice Presidential Candidate of the Labour Party, Senator Yusuf Datti Baba-Ahmed. Senator Datti, welcome to Political Paradigm.
Thank you.
I think we're having a good conversation just after the commencement of campaigns, and I see that the Labour Party held nothing back and went straight to its commencement despite what's happening with the other parties. And I'm compelled to ask you, one, how campaigns have been since it's commenced a few days ago, and why the choice of just to kickstart this campaign? Was it a random decision?
Well, we mean business, and we got to work straight away, like we intend to do if by God's grace we win. The JOS was not our decision, it was not our choice. We honored the invitation of the Middle Belt Forum, who endorsed our movement and our party for the election. And boy, was it a good turnout.
It was. We did see the crowd. And
yes.
It leads me to this question. Since you mentioned the endorsement of the Middle Belt Forum, you've also been endorsed by the Afenifere. What do these endorsements mean for the Labour Party going into the elections?
It means a lot of support have been won. It means the hearts of people that identify with the cause of Afenifere and the Middle Belt are with us. It means we have their votes. It means they will continue working to get us more and more votes, and they will protect our votes. It means they will cooperate with us when we get into government.
And I like to think that you're anticipating the support of the Northern Elders Forum as well.
Yes.
Arewa Consultative Forum, to be specific.
Yes, we are. We're expecting the endorsement of every right-thinking, well-intended, socio-cultural, and for that matter, any other organization, union, or body. We're expecting their endorsement.
Let's talk about the Labour Party now, with regard to the campaigns. For a party like the Labour Party, I dare say that at the beginning of this year, they did not think that they would have this level of support or be regarded as contenders for the seat of the office of the president. And I say that because of the past elections and where the Labour Party had come in those elections. I'm trying to understand how the Labour Party is going into these elections, and how prepared it is to handle the massive support it is getting. And some would say the good thing is that it has two experienced politicians on its side now. So how's the Labour Party preparing for something that it has never been prepared for based on history?
The people, the movers, are prepared for it. I give you two answers. Very quickly, we are focused game players. His Excellency Governor Peter Obi and my humble self. And the second thing I want to tell you is that history is full of first times. I hope my answer will not be a bit complicated to you. Whoever is thinking that Labour Party is surprising the kind of support they're getting only needs to reflect back some major events in history. There was the first time Europeans landed on African soil. There was the first time they colonized an African kingdom. There was the first time they decided to amalgamate. There was the first time they decided to decolonize. There was the first time we began to lead ourselves. There was the first time the military took over. A first time military handed to civilians. There was the first time civilian handed over to civilian, and a first time that a civilian sitting government was defeated by another civilian sitting government. And there is a first time that a party like a Labour Party will come from decent in obscurity to global limelight and national impact.
what is the strongest campaign point of your party with which it intends to sell itself to the Nigerian public?
Nigeria has never had such a combination of well-intended, capable leaders with requisite positive characteristics, deep commitment, strong commitment, and high capacity to deliver. This is the first point. The second point is that Nigeria has sadly been disappointed. I don't want to expatiate on that, but Nigeria has been disappointed. It pains me a lot to find myself in the same situation where some people, I would say, were, in quotes, higher than me, made promises without the slightest intent of fulfilling those promises. I'm uncomfortable, though, look, we've made promises. We've promised security to Nigeria. We've promised better economy. We've promised education, eliminating corruption. We have made these promises and always ready to reiterate those promises. But wait a minute. What is it that Nigerians have not heard? That is my point of view. Peter Obi believes in action, like I do. And the too much talking that was done 2014 to 15 and how they brought the attention of the world, and nothing happened. So whenever I want to speak and think that before us, politicians have been given that name, you talk and you don't achieve. I beg to differ. We are different.
So how then do you react to those who say that you and Peter Obi are part of the old establishment?
That is very, very wrong. Peter Obi was a successful businessman, a banker of excellence, who was dissatisfied with how his state was. He contested in an opposition party, was denied. He fought for 3 years. He changed the political landscape of not just his state, Nigeria. Now, when he finished 8 successful years of good leadership in the state and was in need of practicing national politics, it became very necessary, painfully necessary, to join a national party. That's what happened. In 2002, I had every option of joining PDP because PDP had the government all the way from local government to presidential in my constituency. I joined the leading opposition party, and by Allah's grace, I defeated them. When I was elected to the Senate, I had every option of joining PDP. I didn't, and I joined. When I joined PDP, it was an opposition party, the leading opposition party, which was consistent. And by the way, it was with a great deal of reluctance that in 2017, December, I joined PDP because I established people's trust, if you remember it. It scored votes in 2019 elections. It was mine. I have the certificate right here in my office. After obtaining the certificate for people's trust, my people told me that, look, well done, but if you really are serious about presidency, you need to be in one of the established national parties. Of course, there is no way I will ever join APC. Reluctantly, I joined PDP, which failed to learn its lessons. Culminated to when I was contesting governorship in May this year, and things I don't want to say were happening, and I simply withdrew. So we are not from that system at all. We're a break from the norm. That's the way to put it. We're a break from the norm.
Breaking from the norm has almost never really favored politicians, especially at the federal level. But let me ask you this, linked to that. would you say that the Labour Party has broken into the North?
Yes. When I joined Peter Obi's ticket, I ran into a brick wall. Craftily, brick by brick, I disassembled that brick wall. Behind it was very tough soil. I have softened the ground. In my pocket are very strong seeds that I am planting those seeds, and they are growing very fast.
In the North?
In the North. And those seeds that I'm planting are those of awareness. I'm in the business of creating awareness. That is education. The 4 allegations, wild allegations against my principal, all I need to do was to turn the barrel against the fire of the arms. There is not even a single picture in the whole of Nigeria, not a single one, even with some reward, that they can show you of anybody made to wear an ID card. Come on. Not even a single record in any morgue or a police station. Not a picture of any mosque being destroyed. I was so diligent, having heard those big allegations, I went round, had people go round. Can I just have one evidence to the fact of this? None. So I broke that brick wall. I became a victim along the way, to the extent that some people tried to set me up against powerful religious bodies. But of course, by Allah's grace, it failed. When I stated that I simply want to be known as a Nigerian in the context of 2023 elections, a very proud, respectful, decent Muslim, Hausa Fulani that I am, done everything I can do for my religion. Yet, because some people think they have their ways with propaganda, felt they could set me up against. And I suffered a bit, but it failed. In the same way, those allegations against Peter Obi failed. That was a brick wall. Going into the North, who has suffered religious bigotry in the whole world? The Muslim Ummah in the North. Take Katsina State. Take Zamfara State. I'm not criticizing anybody. Who have suffered insecurity? They did. What was the bidding done in 2015? Religion and ethnicity. Well, now, please wake up. It is the era of competence and capacity. And the people are feeling it. I assure you, no Christian regime will ever reduce the number of prayers Muslims are to pray or the number of days in Ramadan. Nobody will do that. Go and pray all you want. Fast all you want. We're happy. Pray for us. My Christian friends say, please pray for us. And vice versa. Nobody will touch your religion. And look, that some sect, some group has an agenda, good. What is wrong with having an agenda? Have yours. Companies have agenda. Small organizations have agenda. Why shouldn't an ethnic group have an agenda? It's legitimate. They have a plan. Good. Is the plan to kill anybody? No. The plan is for them to have certain infrastructure, certain universities, certain banks, certain key appointments. This is quite legitimate and honorable.
You're a politician. You have won elections in this country. You would understand politics at the lowest level because you've represented wards and constituencies. Since you say that there's the level of awareness in the North has been improved, does this go to say that those who say that the Labour Party lacks the exposure in the North to even get up to 25%, do not know what they are saying.
They don't know what they're saying. They don't know. And listen, awareness has been very high in the North. What happens is that Northerners tend to listen more to the politicians, and the politicians tend to have more impact on the populace in the North. Awareness is pretty high. And whoever thinks that Labour Party or Obedient Movement or Peter Obi as an individual now is not being welcomed in the North, they are making a huge mistake. I went to greet one of our elders, and this gentleman came in with all air of arrogance to say that, oh, you'll get a lot of experience in this contest. And I thanked him. And I said, the first advantage you give your opponent is to underestimate him. I want to be fully underestimated. I want Peter Obi to be fully underestimated by the so-called master politicians, the owners of resources, the owners and masters of structure. We're nothing. He's just a businessman. I'm just an educationist. I'll leave them, they'll go and get experience. Let's go. I'm not confident.
You're not confident?
I'm realistic.
Are you even more realistic now when you look at the polls, the two polls that have been conducted in the past few weeks, which gave the Labour Party the lead over the established political parties?
I was elated by those results.
You believe those
I
stats?
do believe it. I do believe the results very much.
But it's been
remember,
questioned.
I'm a market person. I did forecasting. I did market researches. In fact, the founding company of mine, Research and Data, I'm all about markets, the information we get from markets. And the last one by Bloomberg came out 2% higher than the unofficial estimate I made. When I made those estimates, a very senior person said, Kai, you're optimistic. And I kept quiet. About 3 weeks before those polls, we spoke on the phone and I reiterated, sir, without arguing with you, sir, I wish to maintain that my 70%. Is that so? I said, yes, sir. And I think on Monday also, the polls came out. I snapped the page, encircled the figure, and I sent. We spoke this evening and he only laughed. So I was accurate, I was correct.
You know, those polls suggest that if the elections were to hold now, that those would be the outcomes. But the elections are about 4 months plus away. Some changes could occur in between. Could be positive, could be negative, could be for or against.
I can tell you one of the changes that will happen. I think today the dollar exchanged for 730 naira plus. It is fast reaching that number I told you of 750. Practically, it has nearly reached. The salary of the police and the army, the salary of nearly every public servant is fast becoming a joke. It cannot take you across. Before Christmas, expect a new hike in petroleum product prices. I'm not scaring anybody, please. But this is reality. Diesel and everything will go, and before Christmas, expect very long queues. Now, we should know from data past that insecurity correlates with cost of living. Even the ransoms collected have correlated with inflation. ASU is still on strike, for God's sake. The amount involved in just one individual's corrupt case is about 15% of the money that ASU needs. If that individual had not stolen the money and the government was able to pass that money to ASU, hold this now, 10-15%, we're on course. Our children will be in school by now.
Let me take you back to the polls. You say you do polls, you do research yourself, and there are those who say that those polls are not going to work in Nigeria because of the peculiarities of Nigeria, the hinterlands, the rural areas which are unreachable, and the question the parameters with which those polls were conducted.
Nigeria is not that much different from the rest of the world. We're speaking about methodology. Social methodologies are standard. But we don't want to get academic here. This facts of, for example, getting GDP data from remote local governments in their farmlands, on their farmlands, traders in the cities, and output of companies and all those. These are standardized methods used by credible international organizations. Where we differ is in the implications of certain statistics and in use of those statistics for policy. For example, they keep talking about recession and depression and recoveries. We know fundamentally there is cyclical recession and there is linear recession, the type that Nigeria suffers from. And you keep talking about GDP as the key statistic, or can I say criteria, in knowing whether you're going into recession or not. Now, I beg to differ, because the same stethoscope you use in measuring the heartbeat of an elephant, for example, that of China, you cannot use it to measure the health of a smaller economy, for example, Gambia. I don't want to say Nigeria because we are not small, but our figures are not impressive.
I'll have to ask you a direct question, because since your crowds have been gathering, politicians from the other parties, especially the established parties, have been saying that those are rented crowds. Those are the same crowds that you would see at the different rallies. So the direct question is this: are your crowds rented or are they organic?
No, I'm not a crowd renter. And I can tell you that Peter Obi is not a crowd renter. Those are legitimate, bona fide, self-funded, organic crowds. I'm in search of a better word because they are very, very decent Nigerians, and crowd is not really the right name for them. Maybe before we close here, I'll get the right name to use. But they deserve a better name than crowd.
Movement.
They are not, well, the movement is in a different context we're saying it. We're talking of when they're physically on the road. They are not crowds, for God's sake. They are Nigerians asking for their rights. Now, those established parties and the politicians who are saying this, what they are telling you is what they are used to doing. Because they cannot command those kind of crowds. Those crowds can never come out for them. On Saturday, I was not in Abuja, and Peter Obi had gone to Kano because of the floods. We only received the videos that this is going on in Abuja. And I told him, Your Excellency, have you seen this? He said, let me see. That's when we began to see it around 10 a.m. We began to see those videos. Look, I don't even have the money for a crowd. I don't know Peter Obi. I think even the way I know Peter Obi, even if he has the money, he will not spend it on renting a crowd. We didn't bargain for it. It is our destiny we're meeting along the way.
Senator Dati, a few days ago, your presidential candidate signed the peace accord. I'd like to know how much faith you have in that piece of documents that all the presidential candidates have signed, except, of course, the APC presidential candidate who was represented.
There was a magic clause. It says, so long as, or I think as far as the elections are adjudged, free, fair, and credible. But what it didn't include is who is to adjudge it. The cheats or the victim or the people. But in that kind of thing, the NPC have done a great deal of job. Do you know why I'm saying that? We really have people who love Nigeria. And I'm not saying this for him to hear. General Abdulsalami Abubakar is a true lover of Nigeria. He is in pain. He was going through medical attention abroad. He forced himself to come back. All the medication, there was no way he was going to miss this. But no one can force him to stay there, but we all know he could have done better staying out there. We do have, when you talk of the labor of our heroes past, we also have heroes around. General Abdul Salam and his committee have done well. I saw the pain in him for the first time using a stick to walk up, touching somebody to climb steps. This is a retired general, a very strong, healthy person, going to do this just to make sure that his country does not go up in flame. And how dare somebody are forced to stay away. But I'll leave that. What I'm saying is that I'm happy with the work they've done. Even if they did not specify the very last bit I wanted to hear, I think it is good enough. We have signed it. This election better be free, fair, and credible.
Are you confident that it will be safe as well? Because that's part of the reason for the peace accord.
Your question is too difficult for me to answer. That's the truth. There are people who have amassed wealth and are not going to die and leave it. And they're ready to spend it in becoming Nigerian president. So I don't know what they will use the money for. I can't answer that question. The basic tenets of the peace accord. What is a fact? Because they said we should do politics of facts. What is a fact? A fact is something that has happened. I'm not giving you the dictionary definition of a fact, the contemporary definition of it. Now, if I say there is insecurity in Nigeria, fact. The Nigerian naira has depreciated, fact. There is corruption in Nigeria, fact. At least the Attorney General, the Accountant General was kicked out of office. For that is in EFCC, all government, fact. If I state these simple facts, for God's sake, did I abuse anybody? I stated facts. Now, what are issues? Again, not dictionary, contemporary. Issues are what is going on. What is going on now in Nigeria? Nigeria is disunited. What is going on now in Nigeria is that there is unfairness rubbed in. Our diversity is being ignored. These are the issues going on. Why shouldn't every Nigerian aspire? And the issues is that rotation is a fact of life in Nigeria. There isn't enough time for me to tell you how it's gone. President Obasanjo handed over to Shagari when there was Chief Awolowo. Okay? President Babangida handed over to Shonekan when there was all his friends in the north. General Abdul Salam handed over to President Obasanjo while there was Shinkafi and others. President Obasanjo handed over to Eradua while there was Tinubu and others, and Odili and others. Why is Buhari doing something different? I'm not saying this is going to be electoral, of course, but we don't want bigotry. And look, these are our brothers and sisters from the... Remember, I contested presidency in 2019, unapologetically. His Excellency Peter Obi was running mate to Atiku, who defeated us, and I was happy. Now, what are you saying? That if it takes the APC route, you're saying 24 years, humanly speaking. It will be, humanly speaking, 8 years of Tinubu, and humanly speaking, 8 years of Shetima. If it takes the Atiku route, it will be 8 years, humanly speaking, of Atiku. Why? These are brothers and sisters. Are they not Nigerians? Do they not have the capacity? Do they not know how to vote?
The people of the Southeast.
Do they not know how to make policy?
That's the people of the Southeast.
Yeah. Do they know how to make it? Now, what the definition of a President Peter Obi is that Nigeria has united. That unity, people don't really understand the context of it, is that once you're happy and you've come together, you will work towards one common national objective better. If it's to strengthen the economy, you will do better. If it's to fight insurgency and banditry, you will do it better. Not when you're disunited. Right now we're disunited, and that's why we're not achieving anything. And if it's fighting corruption, exposing all those, the moment we're united, we'll do it better.
So there's an image which was circulated on Twitter. I came across it first from the spokesperson of the APC. It was about Peter Obi when he talked about the Constitution. He talked about the fact that in 2016 there was a leadership issue. That the problem was more, I beg your pardon, that the problem was more about Constitution change than a leadership crisis. And in 2022, he's talking about the need for a leadership to change to address the issues in the country. My question to you is not to react to what he has said, but to find out from you what your thoughts are on the issue or the concerns or the problems within the country now. If we change the leadership to the Labour Party without addressing the issue of the Constitution, does it solve any of our problems?
Yes. Our problems now in Nigeria can be solved immediately with existing constitutional provision and existing laws and existing resources. Can be. What are these problems? Insecurity. Though you haven't picked it as a question to ask me. Constitutionally, we have the Nigerian Armed Forces. Constitutionally, the President Commander-in-Chief has the power to direct immediate resolution of our security problems. Constitutionally, the President Commander-in-Chief has the powers to direct every policy that will make this economy to recover, protect the value of the naira, boost industrial production, agricultural production. Constitutional with existing laws, we can. It is when you want to then move up from there, move away from there, that you begin to talk of constitutional. It is not true that we have to amend the Constitution or any other new law before we make progress. That is not true. All these laws that we have, the Constitution as it is now, adequately provides for security and progress in Nigeria.
So I like that. I like that you mentioned the issue of security. We were going to talk about that, but I've listened to you and your presidential candidate, and you have clearly refused or declined to go into details of how you would handle security. And for some,
that is not true. No.
But I have asked you. You know, I had a conversation with you a couple of months ago where I asked you, and you said that you know what to do with the security situation.
It wasn't you.
It was I, actually.
It was the other gentleman.
I can promise you that it wasn't me.
All right. I'm ready to answer you. Shoot.
We have come from an era where past politicians have promised to address the issues of insecurity. So making promises now may not suffice.
All right. Let me tell you this.
But I was leading you to somewhere, and that was the statement of the former national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Adams Oshiomhole, recently, when he talked about antecedents, which you would agree with me, should play a key role in decision-making for the voters. He had drawn attention to Peter Obi at a time when he was in government, the governor of Anambra State. And at that time, just a second, at that time, the Bakassi boys had picked up, and Peter Obi, in his own words, couldn't address the situation at that time. Then he questions why, if Peter Obi couldn't address the situation of the Bakassi boys at that level, at state level, how would we hand the entire security architecture of the country to him?
I will not be distracted by an individual like Adams Oshiomhole. I will not be. I have heard, since I was in reps, mediating between him in NLC and NNPC, watching him as a labor activist, to when he became governor, being completely opposite of what he used to preach. Please, let me go straight to answering your questions and not be distracted by someone like Ashimole. If in power, to address Nigerian security problems, from the systems level, the procurement of security, because security is like an object, is a service. We are going to procure security at maximum value at minimal cost. Because none of us, nobody in our government will be involved in adding or padding budgets or any contracts. I am about, and Peter will be as well, a contract of whatsoever it is, being the original true cost of that contract, works, services, and products. Our armed forces will be served exactly with what, if we spend 1 trillion naira on security equipment, gadgets, and materials, we will get 1 trillion naira worth of goods, not 10%, because 90% is going up in flames into pockets of political and personal interest. That is our government. This is what I've been fighting for 24 years now. I was behind due process. It was clean contract certification and my activities in the parliament that I always ask people to go and verify. 2, we will then appoint strictly based on merit and capacity. Never will anybody in our government go and buy appointments. There will be no gatekeepers in our offices. We will headhunt and handpick those who are competent to run the affairs of our military and security forces. Laws, that is number 3. The laws will be served without fear or favor. These 3 I have told you on the systems level. On the strategy level, collection of intelligence. I won't say more on that. On the operational level, recruitment, increase the number of personnel, operators, equipment, directly linked to our procurement philosophy. 3, training, the best of training for our, and in the Nigerian context, we're fighting a special kind of banditry. It's not the conventional warfare, for example, being fought in Russia, Ukraine. It's not the counterinsurgency, for example, in Liberia, or the multinational forces that Nigerian armed forces have been engaged in. This is a special kind of clinical anti-banditry, anti-terror operations that will be undertaken. You are making me talk much.
I have never heard you speak so much on security as I said
well,
earlier.
Congratulate yourself.
So
congratulate yourself.
I think it's interesting.
You made me to talk now.
Anyways, let's talk about education now.
Thank you.
You're an educationist.
Yes.
You're on a private institution.
Though I haven't finished on security, but you made me talk.
Would you like to talk more on security?
No. And then when I get into trouble?
So that's why I'm taking you away from.
All right, good.
So as an educationist, I'm curious, and I'm sure a number of Nigerians would like to know this. You run an institution where I'd like to believe that strikes don't exist compared to what we have now in our public institutions. Only recently, the head of service of the Federation hinted that the bulk of the federal government's recurrent expenditure goes to payment of salaries of staff of universities, and questions the rampant employment in that sector. How do you manage your institution in a way that there are no strikes? And how would that come to bear to addressing the issue of strikes at the federal level, should the Labour Party become win the election?
Absence of personal interest. Even though it's a private institution, I have national objectives. guiding everything we do. Professional practice. There is a competent Senate headed by a well-renowned Vice Chancellor that was headhunted. He's a former DG of the Nigerian Law School. I didn't know him from, I knew he was a dean of student affairs in my year 4, in University of Maiduguri, but there was never real contact. Not a relation of mine. We had hunted. He was capable, really, really capable, academically inclined. We hired him. We advertise on national dailies, online. Nigerians from all over apply, go for their interviews and exams. All I do is, once I see all the boxes I tick, I approve as chairman of council, getting the best. Practices, procedures, and systems, the best that we can get. And even I, as proprietor, do not interfere. As I speak to you now, I do not have the power to admit a student or affect the grade of a single student. I have run into trouble, serious trouble. Simply asking someone to go and attend the interview has cost me a very, very dear relationship. It pains me a lot. To answer your question now, if we get into power, we'll look for monies. On a lighter note, let me start. All those monies stolen away will come back and pay us to go back to work. But on a serious note now, we will negotiate with ASU, dress down, really, really legitimize their requests, their demands, reach an agreement on everything they want to do legitimate and address the costs. For God's sake, we will go out and find that money wherever it is. Wherever it is, we'll find that money. Our students, our children must go back to school immediately, and when they go back, they stay there until they graduate. The lecturers will stay and will make them happy to continue teaching.
So under the Labour Party, there will be no strikes?
No strikes. And look,
school, education unions.
I will personally try. I will go and beg the president. We must extract a commitment from ASU for a 4-year period. We have all agreed that there will be no strike. We'll find the money and keep it. They will see it. The monies that we don't have, they will see evidently our plans for getting the money for them to go back to work. It's like, if we win, I might be an ASU vice president also. There is just no way I can sit and watch public. Look at all that investment of the federal government. It's in trillions. Not happening. If we're on strike for 1 week as a private institution, you may not find me this sane or this healthy.
So it's a matter of interest. The government
it's a matter
must
of
be
interest.
Interested. All right, now it would seem that the bulk of the supporters of the Labour Party are young people. They look up to the Labour Party in belief that jobs will be created if they give you their support. And I listened to you and the presidential candidates speak specifically him, you were their support, speak about promise, rather, to create jobs for the youths. It would be interesting to get the details of what sort of jobs or what sectors you hope to create these jobs. This would be a direct promise to the people who are believing in the Labour Party to address the unemployment rate in the country.
The youth are in support of Labour Party because, ordinarily speaking, they have more years, more decades to live. Even the aged, even the senior citizens, I tell you, are in support of Labour. But if you are making a dichotomy that it is more of the youth, it is because they have more of their future at stake. And it is the same principle. His Excellency Peter will be at 61, and my humble self at 53. We have more pain to live if Nigeria continues to be in this. Somebody who's nearly 80, okay, with all sorts of challenges, or somebody who is 80 plus, humanly speaking, have fewer decades to live in pain. And even while they are still alive, they are not that connected with the rest of the citizenry because they are aged. They don't feel that much. We feel the pain day and night. Everyone speaks to us. We see it where no one is blocking people from speaking to us, from telling us what they are going through. So this is the problem Peter Obi and I are facing. And that is what motivates us even more, because we have a longer, humanly speaking, distance to travel in this pain. And if that is the case, we will not allow that to happen. We will come and make sure that Nigeria gets better. And your question about what we intend to do. Right now, the curricula of universities are changing. I'm an agent of change. BASE has been making changes in the way allowed. We should be educating students to be employers, not to be employed. You have a banker as a president who knows how to catch the hands of people, walk them through the rigors, put money in their hands, go and make a living while you repay. And then you have his vice, who is involved in education, whose whole life is about education, business education. Someone giving you the money, someone telling you how to use it better. This is the combination you'll not find anywhere in Nigerian political, electoral contexts. You'll not find. I hope I'm not being immodest, but for the sake of Nigeria, I'm ready to boast. We're not like the others. We mean business.
In the spirit of the Democracy Day celebration, let me take you up on something you said. You said that if the 2023 election results do not reflect the pain in the hearts of Nigerians, then this is anything but democracy. What did you mean by that?
I mean that we have moved away from the three arms of democracy. Anything that has arms must have legs. Now there are three legs. One of the legs is that democracy must be about a political entity, not about the individual careers of people who are claiming it's their turn, or careers of anybody. That's not democracy. Democracy must, elections, okay, must show the aspirations of the electorate. If you aspire to have a peaceful, stable country, that must reflect in your elections. The third leg is that the government only holds and exercises authority on behalf of the people who hold the power, not hold the power and exercise the authority. So it is in the second leg that democracy, not showing the aspiration, not serving the purpose of the people, is defeated. We should move away from three arms of democracy. It is too elementary now. What is it standing on? These three legs of democracy. And if one leg is a tripod, breaks, it will fall. That's my point. It cannot stand on two legs. This is a tripod. It will fall on two legs.
So in that vein,
you cannot continue to have a democracy in which the promises that were made to secure the people, tens of thousands have been killed. Tens of thousands have been killed, and the economy is on its knees. The currency is about 25% of what it used to be. More than 70% of industries are closed. Unemployment is on the rise. Terror groups are getting stronger. Even the president has been promised to be attacked by a terror group, and you elect the same government. This is not democracy. It can also not be democracy if a former party that refused to learn its lessons and repeatedly exercises corrupt nomination processes wins an election. No. Real democracy is when a fresh political party presents genuine candidates that mean business, comes out to win an election on the basis that they are going to deliver the genuine aspiration of their citizenry.
As we wind down, Senator Dati, should the Labour Party win the presidential election in 2023, in 4 years,
yes,
what significant changes could possibly happen in the country that could prompt a re-election?
Before you get to 4 years, in the first month, stop this killing and start the healing. Stop the stealing and start the keeping. Stop the slide and start the climb. That is in the first month. And in 4 years, you would see huge farmlands in the north, expansive roads going all over, industries in Kano and Kaduna, manufacturing, huge international manufacturing outfits, refineries all over southern Nigeria, more bridges across the Niger, universities that have not been on strike for 4 years, a stable naira. Armed robbery would be a thing of the past. A community to be attacked at night and tens of, or the whole of them annihilated would be history. Kidnapping on federal network. Make a phone call on our GSM? No. We'll fish you out wherever you are. Nigerian armed forces will serve justice on you. We'll continue to do that until it stops. Corruption. A highly placed individual steal our billions? No, I don't think so. Racketeering in subsidy? I don't think so. Foreign exchange scam? Definitely not. Gatekeepers around the villa? Money launderers around the villa? Influence peddlers around the villa? I assure you, none. We don't have hangers-on that don't have jobs, like it happened in the past. No way, it won't happen. Nigeria, very fast recovering, meeting our OPEC quota. Nigeria starting to export. Nigerians happily attending Nigerian universities and attending Nigerian hospitals. Nigerians going on holiday in Cross River, Obudu, Yankari, Jos, all over, in the same way that you have elite with their money going out for holidays. We'll do our holidays here in Nigeria. Nigerian diaspora coming back to Nigeria with their expertise, their knowledge, bring all those hotheads back. Remortgage their houses, bring the FX here in Nigeria, make the Naira stable and appreciate.
Senator Yusuf Dati Baba-Ahmed, I'd like to thank you very much.
I'd like to thank you too.
That's Political Paradigm. Thank you for your time. Remember to catch this episode and more on YouTube. Go and search Political Paradigm or go to channelstv.com. I'm Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.